21-year-old student Salma Sandoval is suing her former co-worker, restaurant manager Johan Alvarez, for scamming her out of $1,000. Johan claims Salma broke the rules of their employee savings plan.
Yeah, this is case number 83 on the calendar in the matter of Sandoval versus Alvarez. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
And you were working at the same place where Mr. Alvarez was working. What do you do for a living?
I was a server. First, I started as a hostess, and I ended up as a server.
And what about Mr. Alvarez?
He was my manager.
Now, you decided to join an employee program, but not an official program, for savings.
Yeah.
Tell me how it worked.
It's kind of like something to save money. The person in charge gets 10 people together. And Johan right here was the person in charge of it. He got 10 people to participate. Then after you get the 10 people to commit to it, you get numbers, you put them in a cup, everybody gets their number. Each paycheck, you will have to give in $100. The first time you put in the $100, number one gets $1,000. Next paycheck, everybody puts in another $100, number two gets their part of the money. I was number 11. I was the last number in it because I was planning to save my money to purchase a car.
So he was in it too?
Yeah, he was number one.
He was number one?
Yes.
Did we all draw at the same time?
No. He said since he was the person in charge, he will receive his money first, and everybody else got a number. Actually, with me, I requested number 11, so I know that by the end of it, I would have my money, and I didn't have to go back and finish paying anybody.
And how much money did you put in?
$1,000.
But you quit your job before you had actually accumulated $1,000.
Yeah, I actually quit when I was, I believe, in number 3. But I also talked to him, and I told him I will be responsible enough to bring the $1,000 every date that it was supposed to be.
You mean
due.
$100?
Yeah, the $100.
And did you do that?
Yes, every time.
Who did you give the money to when you came back each week?
Okay, the next two numbers, he was there when I went to go drop off the money.
Yes.
So I gave him to him personally, and I asked him, since I don't work here anymore, for my safety, in case any problems happen, I would like you to sign my paper every time I give you the money.
And did he do that?
Yeah, he signed 1 through 5, all the times that I showed up that he was there. But after the 5th time, I believe he started getting weekends off, which was the days we were supposed to turn in the money. We got paid on Friday, so you would have 2 days after that to turn in your money, which was Saturday or Sunday. And then after that, I would go to the restaurant and just give it to the person personally, because we had a list, and I knew exactly who was next and who was supposed to get the money, so I would go and give it personally to the person. But when it was my turn to give the money to, I talked to Johan and told him, when can I go pick up my money? And I never got my money, so I went on
Well,
Sunday.
what did Mr. Alvarez say when you said, I want my money now?
Oh, well, actually, this was his excuse. He told me, Soma, you know what? I'm having problems with the money. So I told him, I understand problems happen. And he actually gave me his word that 100% that he was going to have it for the 29th. Which
29th of what month?
April. Actually, I showed up on the 31st, 2 days after. And I asked him if he had my money. But he had called me already, which I didn't check my voicemails, telling me he had a problem. So I was like, oh, man, we just...
Well, what did he tell you the problem was this time?
He claimed that he got pulled over by the cops and that he didn't know he had a restriction order, for his arrest, because something had happened with his license or something, and that they took him into jail and he had to pay a bail out of $1,000, which he had to use my money to get out. So I said, that's not my problem. I need...
How are you, ma'am? How you doing?
Don't ask me how I'm doing.
Okay. To begin with, when we joined this saving, everybody was aware of it. That
Don't tell me what everybody was aware of. Where's her money?
I told them.
Where's her money?
The money, I do not owe her anything. Okay? I told her, and I begin with, to everybody, whoever's going to quit the job is not going to receive the money. I'm not going to be responsible.
Just a second. Okay.
Okay?
So, shh, please, don't speak. Now it's Mr. Alvarez's turn. So let me take your hands off your hips.
Okay.
So let me understand. You say that you explained to everybody
Exactly.
that you say that you explained to everybody that if they quit the company, they lost their money. Is that what you say?
Yes, ma'am.
And Miss Sandoval was told that if she left the company, she would lose her money.
Right. I was.
That's what you.
Right.
Is that
That's
what you just told me?
Yes.
When did you leave the company?
I think I don't have the exact date, but I believe it was after the third number. Actually, it was a day after New Year's. I remember.
So the beginning of January 2005. Yeah. When had you started to put in your money?
I started 11/26/04.
Do you get paid every week or every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. So what we're talking about is the entire month of December, which is when you would have put in your money.
Yes.
Minimally 2, maybe 3
Yeah, around there.
times you contributed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that correct so far, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now let me see where you say he signed off on the money. Well, Mr. Alvarez, you gave her what amounts to a receipt for 5 payments.
Yeah, exactly. I told her.
Shut.
Okay.
Mr. Alvarez, let's recap what you just told me, sir. You told me that you explained to Miss Sandoval that if she left the company, she would lose her money.
Right.
She left the company after putting in 3 payments.
Yes. We had a
I'm
talk.
speaking.
Okay.
But then you accepted 2 more payments from her after she left the company, sir.
Yeah, because we had a talk.
No, we didn't.
Just a second. Well, now he's changing it, you see. Now he's changing it.
I'm not changing. I did not finish. You didn't let me finish what I
You finished enough, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
They were peeing on her mattress.
We do not know that for sure.
Listen to me, sir. You know why I know that for sure? Because I don't think she peed on her own mattress.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Salma Sandoval says former co-worker Johan Alvarez scammed her out of $1,000.
Mr. Alvarez, are you trying to tell me that you never said to Miss Sandoval, because it's very easy for me to figure out,
Cool.
and it's very easy for me to find out by picking up the phone and calling the police, that you never said to her, I got pulled over by the police,
Sure.
and I needed $1,000 in bail.
Yes, I did.
Now, why in the world, Mr. Alvarez, would you tell her that you needed $1,000 bail if you didn't have her $1,000?
I had the money with me, okay?
Shut up. No. Now we're getting somewhere, madam. Go ahead. You had the
Okay,
money with you.
I had the money, and I told her when I did call her, I said, I'm going to set up a day with you so I can give you the money because I don't want nobody to
Just
come
a
to my
minute.
job.
So now you acknowledge that she put in $1,000 to the savings plan.
No, I'm not acknowledge it. She was giving the money to somebody else.
I don't care who she was giving it to, sir.
Well, she was not giving it to me.
I don't care if she was giving it to you or not. The money was turned over to numbers 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. It was now her time. She has turned in the money so that everybody got paid in full $1,000. Now you've got the $1,000 and you get pulled over by the police.
I did not have the $1,000 with me. I told her that I was going to be responsible to give the money so we could get over with it. Because she was calling me on the phone and harassing me. She went to my job. She bring the boyfriend out there that she has. She bring him to
Did
try to
you
fight.
use $1,000 for bail?
No. Not her money. It was my money.
Just a second.
It was my money.
No, it wasn't.
It
you
was
got
my
your money already.
No, it was my money. Okay, so...
Mr. Alvarez,
Yes, ma'am.
she's telling me the truth, that you told her, I had your money, but I got into trouble and I needed to use the $1,000 for bail. She didn't make that up, sir.
Your Honor, I did have money on me. Okay, I did not have to use her money. The only thing was she was coming to me. She was harassing me on my job. She went to tell everybody on my job that I was a thief and I was stealing
You
money.
are. You took her money.
Then,
You are. You took her money.
ma'am, and then she didn't stop that. She went to the president of the company to tell
Good
him.
for you.
Sure did.
Good for
And
you.
Exactly.
'Cause he
She
told
him,
me
and then,
that he
and
was
then
gonna
the
lend
president
them
of
the
the company
money.
called me and said, get it over with. I don't want to hear it.
And I'm telling you the same thing, my dear.
And then
The first person who got paid this $1,000 was who?
It was me.
And the last person that's going to get paid this $1,000 is her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Bodies are excused. You may step out.
I knew he was going to try to lie. He lied to me. more than 5 times.
He went to try to intimidate me, I guess.
I didn't threaten him. What I told him was he needed to cough up money.
I feel like he didn't try to scam me, but he got caught up in a way where he wasted the money, he had no way of paying me, so he had to find different excuses.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Krill versus Sheets. Step forward, please.
19-year-old leasing agent Jennifer Krill is suing her ex-roommate, 21-year-old sales associate Christopher Sheets, for damage to their apartment and for his share of their security deposit.
All right, Ms. Krill, let me see if I understand what this rental situation was about. You were doing some part-time work in the leasing office of an apartment complex. In exchange for that, instead of giving you a salary, they gave you an apartment.
Correct.
And you decided that you would supplement your income by bringing in a roommate, Mr. Sheets,
Correct.
who I assume you knew from someplace,
Yes.
right?
Mutual friends.
And he would pay you a small amount of, like $100 a month.
Plus $50 a month for utilities.
And then he would pay the security deposit, because there was a security deposit of $300.
Yes.
And he moved in. He said, that sounds like a great idea to me. He gave them a check for the security deposit. And then, according to you, there was a misunderstanding. Mr. Sheets says that he had heard that you were bad-mouthing him, whatever. He didn't want to live there anymore. He moves out. And it is your claim that the $300 check for the security deposit bounced, that he did some damage to the apartment and some damage to your personal property.
Yes.
Mr. Sheets does not address the bounced check. And yet, he acknowledges that he caused some damage to the apartment.
Correct.
And says to take it out of the security deposit.
Yeah.
So, let's cut to the chase. Where did you get this $300 check for?
At the time, my father and I had agreed that he would pay $300 for the security deposit.
And you wrote a check.
Correct.
What happened with that check?
My father and I have been disagreeing with each other lately, and then finally he said, I've had enough of it, and canceled the check.
So what you're telling me is your father stopped payment on the check.
The check had already been cashed, and I had been informed that by the leasing agent. My dad had reported it stolen or forged.
Because you...
Oh, just a second. Here we go. Now it gets more interesting, because this is the only interesting part so far of this case.
Yeah.
Your father reported the check stolen?
Correct.
And forged?
Correct.
So he wanted you arrested?
Well, he didn't want that, but he wanted to get it settled.
He didn't think that she forged the check?
Yeah.
Right.
You forged the check?
It wasn't, I didn't forge the check at the time.
he said that you forged the check.
I had turned in a check in his name, correct.
How did it end up that they no longer have $300 of the security deposit?
They should still have it. When I called the apartment complex manager, I told her that I wanted my security deposit back. She
Let me see. Can I
continued to
see
tell.
that, please?
This
She
is the
continued to
check
tell
that
me.
has stolen and forged on it, and he's forged his father's signature. I actually talked to his dad.
Oh, I see that the bank marked it
Yes.
stolen, do not present again.
Correct. His father called the bank and canceled the check that he forged.
Correct. I'm not denying that.
So that the rental company did not cash the check.
We cashed it, and then we got it back because obviously we can't have that money
So they gave the
anymore.
money back to him?
Yes, they had to.
I
because
see.
he did not sign the check.
Okay.
Jennifer Krill says ex-roommate Christopher Sheets damaged their apartment and her personal belongings. Jennifer claims Christopher punched holes in the walls and ruined her mattress.
Mr. Sheets, you're no longer living there, so you don't have to pay the security deposit.
Correct.
Let's start with that. Don't say correct. I'm giving you a gift here, sir. But you do have to pay for the damage you did to the apartment.
Which I had explained to the leasing agent that I would take full responsibility for the
Fine.
damage that I had done.
Good. What did you do?
I had put a hole in the wall. I had also put a hole in the door in my room.
That sounds like a lot more than $300 to me.
It was $25 a hole is what I was told by her.
You have a bill for the damage that he did to
Yes,
the
I
apartment,
do.
please, Miss Krill.
And then I also have this.
Are you talking to your father now?
No, we have not spoken in over a month.
This is for the security
$120,
deposit.
Spring Lakes Apartments. That's what you owe for the holes. And then, from your... Oh, well, this, listen to me. You're going to pay your own security deposit.
Okay, I was just giving that to you.
That's fair, right? You're there, you pay the security deposit. He's going to pay for the damage you did. Now the place is damage-free. Any other damage you caused while you're there, you pay for.
Yes.
I'm a reasonable person. Okay. Now, Miss Krill, you claim that Mr. Sheets damaged some of your property.
Yes. When I got back to the apartment, about 2 in the morning, with my friend Katie here, I...
Had there been an argument?
Yes, actually, he called me on the phone, on my cell phone, and he's yelling and screaming at me.
What is he yelling?
You know, how could you talk crap about me, da-da-da.
She was saying that you were living sort of off of her?
Correct. She was taking full advantage of her having the apartment for free and using it against me.
Using it against you by saying you're living there, you weren't paying enough.
Right.
I get a rent-free apartment, but I am working 20 hours a week for it, and he pays me $150 a month.
Yes.
And pays for food, and that's not a bargain.
So you were saying he got a bargain?
Yes.
And you took offense at that?
When she uses it against me is when I took it.
How did she use it against you?
Ruining my reputation between friends.
By saying what, Mr.
Just
Sheets?
talking trash behind my back. It happened several
explain?
occasions.
All right. Now you're not living together anymore. Come on, fill me in. It's late. I have things to do.
Well, he called me yelling on my phone. I went back to my apartment with Katie, only to find him and his friends throwing things down the stairs. There's mattresses, bed frames, boxes everywhere in the road. One of the neighbors in my apartment building.
Stuff.
Yes, his stuff. They called the cops because, it was a whole bunch of commotion. And I tried to go confront Chris. I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? He doesn't even want to talk to me. He's like, I'm moving out. That's it. Da-da-da. I'm like, okay. Can't stop him.
Can you tell me, please, what property you allege that he damaged that belongs to you? He already has to pay $120.
He urinated on my mattress, which was about $400.
Well, how do you know it was him?
I have pictures.
That's not my question. How did you know it was him?
Well, he was moving out all the stuff with two of his friends, so, he had the problem with me.
Let me see.
These are all the pictures.
So what you're claiming is it was either Mr. Sheets or one of his friends?
Yes.
He took all the food in the refrigerator?
Yes, everything.
Get over it. What else? I got the mattress and the holes.
The food, but that wasn't the charge. That's the main things.
Let's talk about the mattress, Mr. Sheets.
I did not do that, Your Honor. I did not see anybody do that. I was out going to get a truck when I came back.
Were things being thrown out of the apartment, your things?
My items, yes.
Your items.
They were getting it out as fast as possible.
What time of the day or night was that happening,
It
Mr.
was
Sheets?
about 2:15 in the morning, I do believe.
Well, sir, so what you're telling me is at 2:15 in the morning in this apartment complex, you're throwing things down the stairs. There are other people that live there, is that right?
Correct.
That's not very mature, Mr. Sheets.
They were moving the things out while I was going to get a vehicle to take all the things to my new...
Well, you selected people who are not very mature to
I
do
agree.
the job, right?
Yes.
And if you select people that aren't very mature to move you out, and they are acting in an immature, rowdy fashion, whose responsibility is that?
Mine.
Right on. And while you were out getting a truck to take the stuff out of there that they were throwing down the stairs, you know what else they were doing? They were peeing on her mattress.
See, we do not know that for sure.
No, listen to me, sir. You know why I know that for sure? Because I don't think she peed on her own mattress. Listen to me very carefully, sir. When you invite people to do a job and you don't supervise them and you do it in an irresponsible manner at 2 o'clock in the morning, you have to assume the responsibility for everything bad that happens. How much was the mattress?
About $400.
What do you mean about $400?
My father bought it for me about 2 years ago.
Will you find another one for $200? Anything else, Miss Krill?
Yes, ma'am. He also urinated on about $100 worth of my clothes that were laying below my bed.
Where are they?
They're not with me anymore. I threw them away.
$320. Get over it. That's all. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Pardon very soon. You step out.
I'm just disappointed in him because he was my good friend and he was immature enough to do that to me, and it really hurt my feelings.
When she started ruining my reputation is when I had to get involved with it.
I'm just happy now that it actually happened because now I know what kind of person he is.
Well, I thought we were really good friends at the time. I just don't think we're made out to be roommates.
27-year-old makeup artist Bonnie Flowers says her ex-boyfriend Gene Spector became so threatening after she dumped him that she had to move out and he should pay her costs.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is number 145 on the calendar in the matter of Flowers versus Spector. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Flowers, you and the defendant, according to your complaint, were romantically involved for a relatively short period of time. How long?
About 4 months.
And you say that when the relationship ended, he began stalking you?
He stayed outside of my apartment for 5 hours, and I called the cops at 4.5 hours.
Your Honor, it's absolutely not true.
Just a second. As a result of that, you say you have to move, you want him to pay all your moving expenses, your first and last month's rent, and the cost of changing your locks, all totaling Oh, $3,100. That includes the week that you have to take off from work to go look for an apartment. That's what you want, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You, on the other hand, sir, are countersuing for all the money that you say that you
I've
loaned to her.
Yes, Your Honor.
During the course of this brief 4-month relationship. You're going to tell me about what loans these were, and you seem to acknowledge on the countersuit that you owe him some money. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
You're going to tell me about that. So first, let's get to your claim.
Okay.
You met, you began to date, you dated for 4 months, something happened. Tell me what happened, and then what happened as a result of the breakup.
Okay, during the relationship, he was very jealous and calculating at times. He would constantly
Your
pick
Honor,
business
that's not true. I want to
Mr.
clarify.
Spector, I'm going to get to you.
Thank you.
He would pick business cards up off my table and make sure, read them and ask where I was at all times and who I was seeing and what I was doing and that sort of thing. And then at about the 3-month point, he read through my journal and told me that if I intended to destroy him, he would destroy me. And on June 15th, he made the threat that the two of us can no longer live at the same time, therefore one of us has to die. I do not feel...
Mr. Spector, Mr. Spector.
I do not feel safe living at the same residence that he has visited me several times.
Well, was it in June that you decided to break off this relationship?
Yes.
Anything particular happen at that time?
He took me to Napa Valley for my birthday on June 14th. We fought the whole time. He told me at lunch on June 14th that he only had 65% of me. He wanted 100%. And I knew at that point that the relationship was definitely going in a direction. I had just gotten out of a very serious relationship, a marriage. And I told him many times that I did not have it to give to him. I wanted to take things slow and that I wanted things open such that if I wanted to see somebody else, I would let him know. I would give him that courtesy. I wanted the same courtesy from him. And I didn't have 100% to commit to him at that time.
So then you had this argument and broke up?
Yes.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Mr. Spector, you keep saying that's not true, and I keep telling you that I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell me your version of the events, but you keep interrupting. That's not a smart thing for you to do, because it makes you sound a little bit nutty, especially since I've told you twice not to do it.
I apologize.
Good. Now, why do you think he should pay for you to move?
I need to move, and it's due to his harassment.
Tell me about his harassment.
His harassment is the 2 threats that he's made in my life.
Well, you told me about those 2 threats. The 2 of you can't live together on the same planet.
At the same time, therefore one of us has to die.
Okay. Well, maybe he's talking about himself.
I asked him if he intended on committing suicide. He said he didn't do suicide. He had connections and people that could take care of things.
Go ahead.
And I don't feel safe at where I'm living now.
Tell me about his harassment.
He's made 2 threats in my life and says that somebody else can take care of me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, what's the $600 that you say that you owe him?
During the relationship, he paid for things like when we went out to eat and shopping and such like that. He, at one time, he helped me pay for a down payment on insurance, and he also gave me $250 for my deposit for rent. So that's $350 and $250, so $600.
Just a minute. Ms. Flowers, didn't you realize that once you took money from him, you were encouraging him?
No.
You didn't realize that?
No.
Well, you should have.
A gift.
Well, you should have. Once you accept gifts and things from someone, and in this case, not only gifts and things, because you said he bought you things, but cash, you are solidifying a relationship. That's not smart. All right, Mr. Spector. To your version.
Your Honor, I have never realized that when I started the relationship it was going to end this way. I met Bonnie in January. I met her in the nightclub. She's a blackjack dealer.
I don't care where you met her. You met her in January.
I met her in January.
Look at me. Don't look at your paper.
We
Right
enjoyed
here.
each other's company tremendously.
You dated?
We dated. We've been always in consent with each other. About 3 weeks into the relationship, I asked her to take a trip to Vegas with me. During that time, we enjoyed each other's company. She asked me to take her to one of the stores in Caesar's Palace where she wanted to pick out some clothes for herself. We have done that, and at that time she said that she liked the clothes, but she didn't have money to pay for the clothes. So I said I can put it on my card, and if she likes it, she can pay me back later when she has the chance. She said, that's fine. I have the bills right here.
Mr. Spector, are you telling me that you took her shopping and you told her at this time we were sharing a room together at Caesar's Palace?
Yes, we were.
Are you trying to tell me that when you took her shopping, you said, are you going to pay me back?
I did not take her shopping, Your Honor. She said she liked something in the store that she stopped by previously. She asked me to accompany her to the store.
So you went with her
So I accompanied her to the store. Yes, Your Honor.
So you're telling me that you told her that this was just a loan of the money?
I offered her to pay for the clothes because she seemed that she really liked the clothes, but she was upset that she couldn't get them. I said, if you like, I could pay for the clothes.
That I believe. Mr. Spector, do you understand, sir? That I believe.
Okay, Your Honor.
I don't believe the last part of it, which was, and you'll pay me back.
Well, Your Honor, let's put it this way, I'm a reasonable guy. We were about 3 weeks into the relationship. I'm not just going to take some girl, take her out shopping for a couple $1,000s and say, yeah. I mean, I don't do it on every day-to-day life. Yes, I did enjoy her company, but I would not just take her shopping. I'm not a millionaire.
This is a good lesson for everybody. Let me understand this, Mr. Spector.
I am a generous person, yes.
You took her to Las Vegas.
Yes.
You shared a room together.
Yes, we did.
Look at my eyes, sir. You felt close enough to her to share a bed together.
Yes.
But you weren't going to buy her a dress, because that you wouldn't just buy any casual acquaintance a dress. Is that what you're telling me?
That is not true, Your Honor.
Is that what you're telling me?
No, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
How unchivalrous
I have
of him.
bought her things on many occasions.
I'm talking about this.
That particular occasion was alone. I've bought her things before and after that
Mr.
as well.
Spector, you're not following what I'm saying to you, sir.
Trying,
Maybe
Your
it's
Honor.
a male thing.
I
Do you
don't think so,
understand,
Your
sir?
Honor.
What you're saying to me is you felt close enough to be intimate with Miss Flowers on your trip to Las Vegas.
That's right.
But certainly, according to you, you wouldn't buy a dress for just a casual person.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's your corporate card?
Yes.
You paid for her underwear on your corporate card?
People, Judge Judy. Bonnie Flowers says her former boyfriend, Gene Spector, should pay her moving costs because she was driven out of her home by his threats.
What monies do you say she owes you, sir?
I'm saying she owes me about 20...
For what?
Okay, I have canceled checks here for the insurance.
All right, she says she owes you for the insurance.
That's right.
$350. And can I see the date? Can I see those checks, please?
Absolutely, Your Honor. By the way, the rent check is dated June 1st. That's after she's saying I told her I'm going to kill her or whatever.
No, destroy.
No, it's not. By the way, what kind of work do you do?
I do a lot of different things. I'm a makeup artist, blackjack dealer, that kind of thing.
Because the reason I'm asking is part of the expenses.
She's an exotic dancer
Just
as well.
a second. Is my mouth moving, Mr. Spector?
I apologize, Your Honor.
Apologizing. There's an interesting line somebody once told me. I think it goes something like, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Did you ever hear that line?
Sure.
Right. The reason I'm asking that question is because you say that you want $1,000 also from him to look for a new apartment because that's how much time it would take away from your work.
About a week and a half to move and to look for an apartment.
Okay. All right, sir. I'm back to you. We're back to you with regard to the money she owes you.
I've not claiming numerous expenses that I incurred during the relationship with her because it was out of my goodwill and I really loved the girl. I thought everything was going great between us. We're not talking about the rental expenses, how much time I wasted looking for an apartment, renting a truck, driving a truck.
Good. What are we? Don't tell me what we're not looking for. What are we looking for?
What we are looking for, I would really like to get an explanation what is inside her head. I would really love to know. I still care for the girl. I have never made no attempts or threats towards her life. I would never harm her in any way, shape, or form. I have not contacted her for about a month. I was trying to forget about the whole thing when I was served with a restraining order. That is really confusing to me. What is she trying to do? I've not made any attempts to call her. I was out for about a week. I was on vacation. She's an exotic dancer. She gives her phone number to so many people. Her phone rings day and night. I have never controlled her in any way, shape, or form. We had an agreement. She wants to see somebody. That is up to her.
Have you ever been arrested, Mr. Spector?
No, I have not.
Ever?
For traffic violations? For traffic violations, yes.
What kind of traffic violation?
Speeding.
Arrested?
Well,
for speeding?
Not arrested.
But stop. No, I'm talking about being arrested.
Well, I had a warrant for a speeding ticket that I forgot to pay, and yes, I have been
arrested for that?
I have been arrested for that, yes, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a financial consultant, and I have an indoor air quality company, as well as appliance company.
Have you ever been married?
No.
You're not going to bother her, are you?
I wasn't for 2 months now.
Okay. That is so inaccurate.
Her restraining order is a...
Just a second. He says he hasn't bothered you in 2 months.
Her restraining order is a way to prevent me from getting my money.
When did you get a restraining order?
June 23rd.
Since your restraining order, after he was served with your restraining order.
After he was served with the restraining order.
Have you had any contact with him at all?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
The person that served him the papers went to his workplace, served him the papers, and got back in the car with me. We drove down the street, turned around, came back up. The defendant, I went down the wrong street. Turned around, came back up the street. The defendant came head on toward my car, blocked me in the road, got out of the car, and came right beside my window.
And said what?
I did not roll down the window. I barely got by his car and the other car beside me, and I swerved around, and then I left.
That was the day he was served with the paper?
Yes, sir.
Have you had any contact with him since?
No.
Okay. Mr. Spector.
Am I allowed to say something? Yes.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Thank you. What you described partially is true. Her friend have come to my office and served me with some papers. I took a look at them when I saw it was a court date there, actually on a date when I was supposed to go on vacation, so I had to reschedule all the plans. I got pretty upset because she knew exactly when I was going on vacation. No. I didn't know what it was. Since I have not talked to her, since she called the police, I don't know for what reason, I still have no explanation. In my mind, I would like to believe that what she was doing was not gold digging from me. I really believe that she had some feelings for me. I would really wanted to know what feelings. And up to this date, I have no explanation. That was the only reason I went out of my office when I saw she was outside.
Listen to me.
Yes.
She don't like you anymore.
That's fine. I would like to hear that.
Do you like
I
him
would like to hear that.
You want to hear it?
Yes,
Tell
please.
him.
He threatened my life. I don't want anything to do with
that.
him.
That had never happened. Okay. That's a lie, Your Honor.
Mr. Spector?
Yes.
If that's a lie, trust me, sir, this is the truth. She don't like you anymore.
Great.
Understand?
That's fine.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He said that one of us has to die, and he will either do it himself or have somebody else do it.
Why aren't you dead yet?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gene Spector, a financial consultant, says his ex-girlfriend, Bonnie Flowers, owes him for money he loaned her when they were together. Bonnie says she left to escape his threats.
She owes you $600 that she acknowledges. What other money do you say she owes you, sir?
Here's all the receipts, Your Honor. This is a receipt for the shopping that she said she will pay me back.
No.
And this is a receipt for...
Don't say anything till I ask you.
This is a receipt for... She asked me to accompany her to Victoria's Secret because she had a gift certificate from her mother that she wanted to redeem there. When we got there, she picked out a lot of lingerie. When we got to the counter, the gift certificate wasn't enough. She didn't have any money with her. I said, what do you want to do? She said, can you pay for it? I'll pay you later. I said, fine. That's my corporate card.
No.
I didn't even pay for it myself.
That's your corporate card?
Yes, Your Honor.
You paid for her underwear on your corporate card? You expect the
I
government...
wanted to get a record.
What?
Okay, I am very good with records. I didn't want to pay cash. I wanted to get a record because I felt something was wrong already at that time. I didn't know what. I couldn't put my finger on it.
Did he buy some things for you at Victoria's Secrets?
Yes, he did. He told me several times that he wanted to take me there, and I did have a gift certificate. He said that he wanted to get a bathrobe for me, and we did not find a bathrobe, so we picked out other things together.
Let me tell you, I still have a problem with you, Miss Flowers, and let me tell you what the problem is,
Okay.
madam. When we started this case, you told me that you had some problems with him. You had problems with him practically from the beginning, but certainly by May, June, at the end, he had become controlling. He had gone through your purse, he had gone through your cards, he had read your journal, and all those other things. And on June 1st, you let him go buy underwear for you in Victoria's Secrets.
I liked him a great deal.
Well, if
great
you
deal.
liked him, then if you want to move, you do it on your dime. Do you understand?
I understand.
Because I'm not giving you any money to move. You're not supposed to encourage somebody and let them spend a lot of money on gifts, presents, whatever else it is, while all the time in the back of your mind you're saying, this relationship is going nowhere because he's too controlling. This relationship is going nowhere because he's too suspicious. This relationship is going nowhere because he's too jealous. If that's the case, you're supposed to do a decent thing and not let him spend any money on you, which suggests to him that your relationship is going somewhere. There's just something that comes under the category of not nice about that. So you feel as if you want to move? Move. Yourself. You owe him $600.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Now, sir, you listen to me. I don't believe for 1 minute that you took this lady to Caesar's Palace and she ran up a $2,000 bill and you expected her to pay you back. I find...
Your Honor,
Listen,
you were incorrect.
listen.
It was $1,300 for the clothes.
$1,300
We're
for
not
the...
talking about the bill for the room and everything else. That amount that I don't want to say what. That was never asked of her. That was me.
Mr. Spector,
Yes, Your Honor.
write it off to a good lesson, sir.
Oh, I am. I've done it.
Perfect. She owes you the $600. She says it was $600. It really comes out to $551, doesn't it? Let me make sure.
No, actually,
No,
it's
it comes out to $601.
601.
601. In any event, the judgment in this case is for the defendant in the amount of $601.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And the plaintiff's case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go, ma'am. I'll back foot to your right. No, I'll walk you out.
You can walk me out.
Parties on Davis versus McDowell. Step forward, please.
Marilyn Davis is suing 21-year-old Maria McDowell, the ex-girlfriend of her daughter's new boyfriend. Marilyn claims Maria keyed her daughter's '66 Mustang.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 97 on the calendar in the matter of Davis versus McDowell. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mrs. Davis, you have a daughter
Yes.
who has a boyfriend.
Yes.
Where's your daughter?
Right here.
Your name?
Alyssa?
Where's the boyfriend?
Steve.
You say that this young lady, who is the ex-girlfriend of Steve,
Yes.
keyed your car.
It's
Tell me-
registered in my name. It's her car. It's her car, but it's registered in my name.
Well, it's your,
Yeah.
then you're the owner of the car, and you want her to pay for the damage for keying the car. Well, did you see her key the car?
No. She was seen...
Who did?
No one saw her do it.
That's a problem.
Right. They saw her go
Well, don't tell me what somebody else saw. You have witnesses that saw?
Yes, for sure.
I'd like to hear the witnesses. First, tell me who you are.
Oh, my name is Crystal.
Crystal what?
Crystal Gibbons.
All right, Miss Gibbons. What did you see and when?
It was March. It was late March, and we were at our friend Devin's house. And there's like, there's several of us over there, and I was standing near the balcony, but like right in front of the door, not on the balcony, but right outside of it. And I looked down, like outside, and I saw her out there. And then she like stood there like looking in. It looked like seeing who was in there and stuff. And then she turned like and started walking this way to the right. And then like I was watching her walk, and I could see her turn this way, like Alyssa's car, or her car, was parked in the visitor's parking lot, which was in the direction where she was going, like right behind the apartment, which is, it looked like is where she was going.
Does Miss McDowell live in that apartment complex?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I don't know.
Do you?
Yes,
sure,
I do.
but-
And I could tell you where I was going after I left there.
Where were you
Okay,
going?
after I came from my apartment, I went to the dumpster to take some trash out, and I heard people talking and laughing. It sounded like they were arguing, but like having like a discussion, like I don't know what they were talking about. And I was like, who's up there? So I went and I looked, and I saw that they had saw me, so I went back to my apartment. I was getting my stuff to go to my boyfriend's house. The second time that I had went over there, I went to, I don't know, I don't remember even if I went back over to buy my car. I didn't go anywhere behind her car was probably behind my building.
It's getting much too complicated. You
But
didn't
I
see
did
her.
not go behind the building. I went
You
back to my
didn't see her
apartment.
key the car.
No, but I started going to the direction of the car. Right
But there
before
were
we saw it.
there are other things in that direction.
Yeah, there are, I'm sure, but...
And she lives in that
My
development.
house.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You have any other witnesses, Miss Davis?
Yes. Me.
My name is Corinne Herrera, and about a week after Alyssa and Steve got involved...
Alyssa and Steve?
Yes, these two. Maria called me on the phone and
Who
was...
called you?
Maria.
That's you?
Yeah.
And was asking questions, and one of the questions she asked me was what type of car Alyssa drove. And I told her I couldn't tell her that because that's my friend.
I wanted to know what type of car, so because I seen cars parked in front of her house or his house, and I want to know if it was hers, because to see if she was there, because he was still, you know, kind of involved with me. That is why.
How long were you dating him?
3 years.
Sit down. You want to say something?
Please. My name is Steve Gonzalez. We had already been separated for about 3 months prior before I met her, and like, so I don't understand what she's saying. We were still involved. We weren't still involved.
I had broke up with him right before Christmas time, and he had been trying to get back. He kept, you know, bugging me to get back together.
Yes, and then she.
And then finally, like, I was like, okay, you know, I want to, you know, we'll work it out. And he was like, okay. I said, well, you know, I don't want you getting girls' phone numbers, and I won't. And then, you know, at that time, he had already gotten her phone number, and I found his or her number on his pager, and I called it. That's how I found out, you know. And then I was talking to her. We were friendly at first until one day I went to his house for him to see the baby, and I didn't want.
What baby?
My baby, our baby. I wanted her to.
You have a baby with him?
Yeah. I had to. You know, I was not about to.
What's not true?
What she's saying, like, we were still kind of involved. We
weren't really
kind of involved. You have a child together.
Yeah, but not.
That's not like having a pool together, sir.
Not in a relationship.
And
not in a relationship.
And so I was
Gonzalez,
asking.
Miss Davis.
What? And I asked her, please, you know, could you please, you know, go home so he can. I will leave the baby here so he can see him, but I won't leave him here if you were here. No, Alyssa, don't leave. Don't listen to her. And so I was like, whatever. So then that was the
just
first.
a second. I'm not interested in this nonsense. It's nonsense. How old are you?
I'm 21. I'll be 22 in a couple
And how
months.
old is this baby?
He's
that you
3
have?
years.
He's 3 years old. Do you live alone?
Yes, I live with me and the baby, and I've been paying for us for the past 2 years by myself. I mean,
Just a second. Just a second. Do you work?
Yes, I do. I work fast food to raise my son. He's too good for that.
Just a second. Just a second. You work?
Yes, I do.
Is that how you support yourself and
Yes.
your child?
and I have some help from the state.
Okay. Now, what do you do?
I'm unemployed at the moment.
Just a second. Stop. I didn't ask you another question. I said, what do you do right now? You say you're unemployed. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time you were employed?
April, I think, of 97, or March of 97, I became unemployed. And
What kind of work had you been doing?
I was working for a grocery store, meat department, a meat clerk. And I was... She's lying.
And you were paying child support?
We were living together, and I was paying for everything.
So you were really living together up until recently?
Yeah. No, since about like 7 or 8 months, almost. It's been like 7 months.
A lifetime.
No, but that's a long time, and she's lying.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I don't care if you pick up papers from the street. I don't care if you pick up cans and cash them in for a nickel apiece. There is a way that you can make money.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Alyssa Davis says her boyfriend's ex, Maria McDowell, keyed her '66 Mustang.
How old are you?
22.
Who do you live with?
My father.
How much child support were you paying?
I was paying for half the rent and bills.
No, after you left, when you were not living together anymore.
I was still paying, no. I still gave her money up till the point before I became unemployed.
How much money, sir?
It was probably...
$10.
Up!
Sorry.
How much money what?
How much money were you giving her every week?
$10.
I was giving her, what I was giving her was half of the rent.
Just a second, I'm not talking about when you were living together. I'm talking about after you were no longer living together. And she went out on her own.
I can't say exactly how much.
Why haven't you been working?
Because I have no vehicle to go to work. That's why I lost my job. My work cut my hours, and I was working in another city from where we live.
So what do you do all day?
I'm looking for a job.
How are you looking for a job if you have no vehicle?
I have an interview this Thursday.
How do you look for a job without a vehicle?
I call, or I use my father's vehicle.
What does your father do?
He's a machinist.
Sit down. How old is your daughter?
17.
She go to school?
She just graduated.
And what is she doing now?
She's working.
Step up here. Who are you working for?
Baskin Robbins.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you want to do, work for Baskin Robbins?
No, I'm just saving money. And
what?
I'll look for a better job, and then I'm planning to go to college.
Well, that's good. Did you graduate well from high school?
Yeah.
Academically well?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But...
Is your last name Davis?
Yeah.
Miss Davis? Don't hitch your dreams to a falling star, madam. Your mother understands what that means. Look, Miss Davis, you have no proof that Miss McDowell scratched her car. You surmise that she scratched her car. You think that she may have had a motive to scratch your car. And if I asked her whether she scratched her car, she would tell me...
No, I did not.
Right. She would tell me that she did not.
She has been harassing us
Yeah,
since
I want to
March.
say something. Ever since I met him, she calls my house at least 5 times a day. She calls my work. She comes to my work.
5 times a day.
At least 5 times a day. She tells me, watch your back, you know, leave him alone.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I've never
I
threatened
have his
her.
dad that said he would come and say how she threatened me.
His dad isn't here.
She has sprayed my mom with mace with her kid in her arms. She says all kinds of stuff to tell me, watch your back. You know, she told me specifically, I will never leave you alone as long as you're with him. He saw her walk in the direction of my car too. He saw her walk away, and she saw him walk away.
So what? That's not enough?
She told me that she had no reason in the world to go in that direction at all, that she didn't go in that direction.
You cannot convict somebody of doing damage to property because they were walking in a particular direction, especially when she lives in that apartment
There is
complex.
nothing over there.
It doesn't make any
My
difference.
apartment.
Shh, just a second, Miss Davis, it doesn't make any difference. She lives there. If she did not live in the complex where you all live, I would suggest that maybe there was some evidence that she looked in the window, she drove to the location, she looked in the window. There was no other reason for her being in that apartment development. What are they, townhouses or high-rise? What are they?
Just two-story apartment.
Two-story apartments, but she lives there.
And no one here lives here. Just, that was my apartment complex. They were at a friend's house.
And so they don't live there, but they were visiting a friend's house in your apartment complex. Yeah. So, Ms. Davis, you're not going to be able to prove your case before me that she vandalized the property. It's all a very unfortunate circumstance. You know what the saddest thing about this is?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I mean, he's with a 17-year-old that he just went to her prom. He's 22. He needs to grow up.
Cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marilyn Davis is suing 21-year-old Maria McDowell, the ex-girlfriend of her daughter's new boyfriend.
You know what the saddest thing about this is?
The son, which, can I tell you this? She will not let him see him because of me. She won't let him be around him. She has to know that I will be at work. Can I talk, please?
Go ahead.
She will not let him see him. Before she let him see him about a week ago, he hadn't seen him in a month.
Just a second. Just a second. He has plenty of time.
She won't.
And just a second. Hey, he has plenty of time. He's not working. He's very big and he's very strong. And if he wanted to see his child, all he's got to do is get on his legs and go down to the local domestic relations court and file a petition for visitation. Then they're going to say to him, with the same legs that you got here to file your petition for visitation, get a job. And then support this child so that the people of this state don't have to contribute to the support for your child. And then we'll talk about visitation. So I don't want to hear about visitation for somebody who can't or won't pay a penny for support because they don't have a car. How is he supposed to get the baby for visitation if he has no car? Yeah, you want to tell me that?
Yeah, yes, please.
Sure. Just tell me. How are you supposed to get the baby for visitation? That's what I want you to answer.
I've been down to the Child Support Division office.
Yes.
All my evidence of all my return checks of evidence that for all the child support that I've paid for the 2 years that we were living together, she stole and burnt. I have no evidence. They say I owe $8,000 back support. So we're going to the Bank of America to get the return checks right now to go do through all that.
You talk very fast. You think that you can talk faster than me? You think that you can talk faster than me?
No.
You think that you're smarter than I am?
No, I don't.
I know exactly what's going on. I've been in the family court for 25 years. I know exactly what's going on. You lived together for a long time, right? When you lived together, she was on welfare. Is that right? Right.
Yeah.
Right. And welfare, in all probability, did not know that the two of you were living together. Is that right? Am I right?
Yes.
Of course I'm right. So don't give me a lot of baloney. I know everything. What I'm talking about is now that you've separated, she's got a job. She also gets welfare. You, sir, on the other hand, don't have a job.
At the moment.
Get one.
I am.
And then, when you walk into court, you'll say, I got a job. I want to pay support for my child. I want to visit with my child. And I guarantee you, any court will say a father should have as much visitation with his child, if he's not the child's custodial parent, as is possible, because that's good for the child. But as long as you, sir, at your age, are acting irresponsibly, which is not to have a job, I don't care if you pick up papers from the street. I don't care if you pick up cans and cash them in for a nickel apiece. There is a way that you can make money. Bag groceries, dry cars. You can earn enough money to send her $10 or $15 a week. Whether you like her, whether you don't like her, I don't care. Doing that. But you haven't done it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He is a better dad than you are. You haven't given me a dime.
You don't even let me see him. You don't even let me see him regardless.
Where's the money that you can get
Where's
him
my son?
nice
Let me
stuff?
see my son and I'll give you some money.
Listen, I want to tell you something. Everybody can find a job.
I know.
It depends upon whether you set your sights here or here. Now, if you're 22 years old and you're living with your father and you have no expenses and you want to set your sights up here for a job, that's fine. If, on the other hand, you're 22 years old and when you were 19 years old you made a baby that I'm paying for and you're paying for, then you set your sights down here and you work at whatever kind of job comes along. Raking leaves, digging ditches, whatever it takes to earn a buck to support a baby that you make so that you don't have to support that baby.
And I'm paying her to harass me.
Just a second. Why don't you point your finger over there, madam? I don't think you're using your brain.
Because
you want to know you're
harassing
You want to
us.
know why you're not using your brain? Your problem long term is not going to come from this side of the bench. Your problem long term is going to come from this side. This case is dismissed.
I wish.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Boy. And he said he...
Parties on Trombley versus Trombley. Step forward, please.
25-year-old Jennifer Trombley is suing her husband, Russell Trombley, claiming he physically abused her throughout their marriage. Mr. Trombley's countersuit alleges that his wife has a drug problem and has neglected their daughter.
Order. All rise. Judge, it's number 159 on the calendar in the matter of Trombley versus Trombley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You two folks are married, in the process of getting a divorce. You've been married for 2 years. You have a 2-year-old child, Mrs. Trombley. I have your complaint. You are seeking $5,000 from your husband for emotional stress.
Yes, I am.
Well, I'd like you to tell me about it. You have a countersuit. I'll hear that in a minute. Go ahead.
Well, I'm really suing because he broke into my best friend's house.
I tell you, this
there.
has nothing to do with your best friend's house. There's nothing in here in the complaint about
he
your
broke
best
in there
friend's
and
house.
attacked me.
Well, let
That's
me hear
what
about
brought
it.
this complaint.
Let me hear about it. The attacking you is something else. Let me hear about the attacking you.
Once he entered the house, he ran through the house and threw me against the wall and kicked me and then left with our daughter screaming in the living room.
What had precipitated this?
I hadn't come home the night before because
Why not?
Because I was afraid of getting hit. And when I did come home in the morning, he raised his hand to me, and if he hadn't seen my friend, he would have hit me.
That's untrue. There was no threat of violence of her coming home at any point ever. She was with her friend partying late into the night.
He says you do drugs, Mrs. Trombley, and that you depleted the bank account of your family, took checks out, forged checks, ran up bills, forced them into bankruptcy, all because you were doing drugs and staying out, and partying with your friends, etc. Any of that true?
Some of it's true.
What's true?
I do have a past history of drug abuse.
We're not talking about past. We're talking about current.
No, I don't.
What makes you think she has a drug problem?
Oh, I have all kinds of ample evidence to prove that she has a drug problem. Just as of July 18th, I got a call from Burbank Police Department who had just arrested a drug dealer, stating that he had my calling card. I have here 12 pages of the calls that this man made with my calling card. Who was given?
Who is this man?
This man's name is nicknamed Morbid.
You know that person?
Yes, I do.
Well, what does he do for a living?
He deals drugs, right, Jen? He deals drugs.
What does he do for a living?
He doesn't really do much for a living.
He deals drugs. And this is Jen's main drug dealer. This is a man that she went to Mexico with.
While you were married?
What? Last month.
Is that right?
Yes.
Terrific.
My wife disappeared for 3 days on the premise that she was going to look for jobs. At 2 p.m., with no hassle, no fighting, we had made love in the morning. At 2 p.m., she said, I'm on my way to go put some applications in. I did not see my wife for 3 days, at which she had taken both sets of our car keys and left me in the care of our daughter. I have a full-time job. I had to take 3 days off from work. On the third day, risking financial ruin and losing my job, I had to take my 2-year-old daughter to work with me. No calls from my wife.
Does that sound familiar to you, Miss Trombley?
Yes, that's all true. And it was all because I was afraid to come home because he was hitting me.
Afraid to come home, so she takes a vacation with a drug dealer to Tijuana, Mexico.
Mr. Trumbley,
Order.
let me tell you this, sir. Let me tell you this. I read your answer to her complaint, and her complaint is nonsense. I don't know whether you hit her when you got into the house.
I'll explain to you exactly the events preceding that incident.
Your Honor, we have 2 separate police reports for domestic violence.
We have
and a
one
restraining order
police
that was
report.
put on against him.
Was there
for
ever a
my
trial
protection.
on that restraining order?
Yes, there was.
And what happened to it?
What happened to it?
Today, that case was settled and dropped, plead out.
What do you mean, settle, drop, plead out? What does that mean?
I pleaded no contest to 1 count of battery.
Does that have to do with this incident?
It has to do with the incident where I pushed my wife away from a front door for not taking our personal life into a hallway.
Was that at her friend's house? Just a second.
Yes.
This is the incident at the friend's house.
Yes, let me...
Let me.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll ask you to fill in so that there is some semblance here. According to your answer, she had gone over to her friend Lori's house, right? And this was after she had disappeared for a few days.
No, that's...
She had already disappeared. There were periods of time, according to your answer, sir, that she had left you in care to care for your daughter.
Yes.
And you were afraid that when she went to Lori's house and didn't come home right away, that she was going to do it again.
Well, let me explain a little bit earlier in the evening. It was that very morning that I was late for work. My wife came home at 6:30, where I would have had to have left at 10 of 6 to make it to work. She knows this. We've had many, many fights about it. It's when she showed up with Lori, I did go like this in anger, not to hit her, but just as a show. I'm this angry. How could you do this to me again? That very night, when I came home from work, Lori and Jen and Aubrey were there in the house. They said, we're going to take Aubrey out and get some shoes. They left. They came back at, at 7:30 p.m. while I was watching TV. My daughter comes through the front door crying, but my wife did not come through the door. I opened up the front door, and my wife was at the bottom of the stairs and says to me, I'm going to the car for a minute. 5 minutes later, she didn't come back from the car, and the car was gone. It's at that time that I assumed she probably went back over to Lori's. I drove over there with my daughter, and that's where she was. I found that that was kind of peculiar.
You weren't screaming your head off.
I wasn't screaming at anything.
Mr. Trumbley.
Yes. May I continue?
No. Because while I can smell a drug problem from at least 15 feet away, and she has a drug problem.
Yes, that's true.
Based upon my assessment of her demeanor and based upon the things that she has said to me so far, I have some trouble with your response. And let me tell you why, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm just a hard-working guy. I have no record. I've never been expelled from school. I'm nothing but a decent guy that was raised the right way.
And later today,
you came in with your girlfriend, Christina, who now lives with you. Who
I'm going to have him live with me?
Who is your lover? Admit it, okay?
Okay.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Russell Trombley denies his wife Jennifer's allegations of abuse and claims she's guilty of neglecting their daughter.
You have a 2-year-old daughter. You say you know your wife has a current drug problem.
Yes.
If your wife has a current drug problem, I don't care what you have to do, you make sure that your wife is never left in charge of your child. You didn't do that. What you wanted her to do was to be around to take care of your daughter. Just a second. And I don't care if you have to get a babysitter. I don't care if you have to quit your job. I don't care what you have to do. You do not leave a drug user in charge of a 2-year-old baby, and I don't care if the drug user is your wife. Number one. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Number two, according to your answer, sir, you went over to the house, to this Lori's house, because you didn't want to be in the position again of having to look for somebody to take care of your daughter when you had to go to work the next morning and you had an early morning call. Is that right?
Yes. We've exhausted all of our daycare issues. My wife left our daycare with a $300 bill that we owed them.
Sir.
We had no one else. We have no relatives here.
So let me tell you this. There are many people, unfortunately, in your position whose mate, whether it be a husband or a wife, has a drug addiction problem. You're supposed to try to be supportive of each other if you can, But at that point, there is only one innocent. And that innocent is a child, especially a 2-year-old child that cannot protect herself. So at that point, you can't worry about her anymore. She's got a drug problem and hangs around with Mork or whatever his name is, Dork. Those are the kind of people that you hang around with if you've got a drug problem.
That's all she hangs out with.
Drug dealers.
All drug dealers. That's everybody she knows.
Well, then, sir, if you allow your daughter to hang around with her and to hang around with drug dealers, then you are as guilty of neglect as she is. Do you understand me? My eyes.
With all due respect, Judge, these are events that have only come to my knowledge within the last couple of months. All of these things have been hidden and lied about.
Sir, during that time, during that couple of month period, you still left your daughter in your wife's care.
But I was only doing that on the premise that she was over at her friend's house. I didn't know that there was drugs involved at that night.
You can't have it both ways. We understand each other. You cannot have it both ways.
There was not at any point that I felt my daughter was in danger from my wife.
I'm telling you that it's not true. What I'm telling you is, if you are mated to a drug user who cavorts with other drug users and abusers and dealers, you are a neglectful parent if you leave a 2-year-old child with her.
I was doing everything I could.
All right. So, let me get to your cross-complaint because I'm going to take care of this nonsense right away. You say that she spent a lot of your family money?
She spent all of our money.
Good. That's what happens. It's a very good idea for you to get out of this marriage, to take charge of your daughter, and to start building a life with her, if that's what you think that you can do. Do you understand?
Yeah, that's everything I'm seeking and aiming for. But
very good.
These are the events that handle our lives every day, though. While I'm trying to litigate this, I am being forced to move out of California, forced to give up my dreams, forced to give up my career.
That's very sad. You made a mistake. That's what happens when people make a mistake.
I made a grand mistake, and
That's what happens when you make a mistake.
I understand that.
Good.
But understand, Judge, that I have pleaded and begged my wife to get drug counseling, to stop fraternizing with these people.
This case is dismissed. The counterclaim is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
I want to get as far away from this woman as I can. I believe she's nothing but pure evil and will not help herself. I don't think there's any saving her.
And now the next case.
Parties on Silvas versus Boga. Step forward.
70-year-old Frank Silvas is suing 33-year-old Christina Boger, a woman he says was his lover and bride-to-be. According to Frank, when their plans to move in together fell through, Christina kept his furniture. But Christina says she and Frank were never boyfriend and girlfriend, and the furniture was a gift.
Mr. Silvas, according to your papers, sir, you are a recent widower.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were married to your wife for 45 years?
No, 41.
41 years. Shortly after her death, you met the defendant.
Right, but 18 months after.
And she was selling some sort of electrical
Well, the
bed?
night before I met her, somebody called the house, was to make an appointment to sell mattresses. And I told the gentleman, says, I'm not going to buy one. He said, well, we got a new sales person. He didn't tell me it was a male or a female, you know.
Cut to the chase.
Okay.
She came to sell you a new mattress.
Right.
And according to your complaint, sold you a lot more.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I slept over there about three or four different times. In fact, we went to Laughlin. First time we went to Laughlin.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 70-year-old Frank Silvas is suing 33-year-old Christina Boger because he claims she kept his furniture when their romance ended.
Over the course of several months...
Almost a year.
You gave her a lot of money.
Right.
According to your papers, gave her loans of over $30,000.
Right.
But you know that you can't get that here.
Right.
What you're suing for here is a return of your furniture.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me how she came to have your furniture in her possession.
Okay, when her roommate moved out, I was supposed to, move in, see? So, I says, well, we'll take my furniture up there to sell my house. Then she kept putting the dates off,
What dates?
That I was supposed to move in. But prior to that, Your Honor, she said she would marry me.
Did you ask her to marry you?
Yes, and she kept putting that off.
Okay. So you asked her to marry you. When did you ask her to marry you?
Before the first of the year, first time.
And what did she say?
She says, I don't know you that good, you know, let's wait a while.
So what happened? The romance is clearly over.
Well, you know, I got evidence right here that really turned me off. She came into my house, took 2 blank checks and forged them. One for $1,000, one for $350. Then she came back into the house and grabbed those 2 checks and burned them up. That's what she told me. She burned them. But I got copies from the bank. And I got the police report on each one of them.
When do you say she did this?
I didn't find out about it till May, actually, Your Honor, when I got my bank statements.
How come he gave you this money?
Well,
I assume you're going to tell me he gave you the money.
Yes, he plays a victim well. He was always there to be very helpful to me, and was there to volunteer anytime I needed something. We started up a business together. This money that he's talking about that he lent to me was based on this business we started together, and any money that he gave me was to help me get this business up and going, and he was, in return, got a percentage of this business.
Just a second. Did he get anything in return?
Yes, when he was doing his job.
Just a minute. What did he get in return?
He got a percentage of the business, which was 10%.
How much does that translate to in cash?
About $600-700 in cash.
So he invested thousands and he got $600-700.
Let me explain something though. He stopped doing the business, and ultimately the business fell. It's not even in existence now because he wouldn't give me the information so I can continue to run this business. He kept it.
He gave you a lot of money, madam. I have checks here. A lot of money.
Okay.
A lot.
Your Honor, he's 69 years old. I'm 30. This man's got 45 years on me. He decides to give me money or do what he decides to do. You think he'd have... It's all been his choice. It's all been his choice from the beginning to do these things. Frank did everything.
Did you at any time discuss with him getting married?
No, he discussed it with me.
When for the first time?
He asked me to marry him so many times, I couldn't tell you. It was literally the first time, 60 days after I knew him, was the first time he asked me to marry him.
And what did you say to him?
I said, no, I don't know you well enough. And he was a heavy drinker, and I have a baby, and there's a big age difference. And I told him, I said, no, I think
a big age difference is 40 years. You know, a big age difference is 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. 40 years is a big age difference. Did you ever say to him, no, sir, you're too old and I'm not going to be involved with you romantically?
I never said he was too old. The age difference was a concern, but it was his drinking that was more of a concern to me.
But that didn't stop you from taking money from him.
For the business, we were business partners.
I'm not talking about the business. So far, the business he got a couple $100 from, if I believe you, and he put in thousands according to these checks. And it's not made out to a business. It's made out directly to you, and you cash the checks. It's not made out to a business account. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. But I'm telling you now, don't piddle on my leg and tell me it's raining, madam. I'm too smart for you. Do you understand? Do you understand? If you took money from him because he was prepared to give it to you and you were prepared to take it, that's one thing. He's not suing you for the money. Yet. So don't give me any baloney about business. Business checks, if they're made to a business, they're put in a business name. Your business, I assume, had a name. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the name of the business?
Wilbur Banks and Associates.
So if he was lending money to the business, it would have been business checks, not payable to you.
Okay, when I came to him and discussed certain things with him, he was there to help me. He said, whatever you need, I'm here to help you. I asked him what he wanted in return. He said, just to be close to you, to be your friend. And I said that was fine. He could write me a check, and I could do whatever I wanted with it if he chose to give it to me.
Right, so you used them. Now, let's talk about the furniture.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I want to know if the following things are in your home, madam. Butcher block.
Pardon me?
Show this to her, please. Are those things in your home?
Yes, they are.
Can I have it, please? Court will draft an order that within 3 days of today, all those items will be picked up and returned to Mr. Silvas. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
All of them. And they better be in the same condition that they were when he gave them to you. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And on the next...
Spann versus Wilson. Step forward, please.
Janet Spahn, a 35-year-old housewife from Colorado, is suing her former babysitter, 18-year-old Eric Wilson. 2 years ago, Eric was arrested for stealing money from Janet's home. Now, Janet alleges more money is missing and believes Eric is to blame.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 163 on the calendar in the matter of Spann versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
All right, let me understand this case. Miss Spahn, this young man babysat for you, for your children.
Yes.
A couple of years ago.
Yes.
And at that time, he wasn't doing so well. You didn't know it at the time?
No, I did not.
But you had a drug problem?
Yes, I did.
And you had been involved in a series of criminal activity that you're not
correct.
proud of now, I understand.
That is correct.
You're his mother.
Yes, I am.
While he was babysitting for you, he stole some money.
Yes, he did.
And he was arrested and prosecuted.
Correct.
What was your sentence?
I got theft charges. I was ordered to pay restitution in the amount that she had requested.
How much was that?
It was $900, I believe, and it ended up being $1,200 after all of the fees and everything, all the victim assistance, all of that. And I paid that in full, and I was ordered to go on to probation. I finished all my probation stuff. I did my community service, paid all my restitution.
What kind of community service did you have to do?
Weekend work crew. I'd have to go up into the mountains and dig trails and stuff, and kind of...
And according to your complaint, Ms. Spahn, you found out that there was more money taken that was originally either reported or somehow the paperwork, the police paperwork,
Yes.
Was lost.
It was not in the actual record, the original record, this is the original report, and this is the second report, which we did file within the statute of limitations, that showed the additional $900 was missing. Now, it was $1,100 originally, which we were paid the restitution after, the balance was paid, and this is the additional $900 that was missing, which is what I am here for.
Mm-hmm. Your neighbors?
Yes.
Ms. Spahn, if I find out that what this young man says in his answer is true, this is a sympathetic case on both sides. Mm-hmm. Because what this young man says, and his mother seems to confirm, is that in the last 2 years he has, in fact, turned himself around. Drug-free?
To a point, yes.
What do you mean to a point?
I've been working on it. I have been clean for about a month now.
What kind of drugs were you using?
Marijuana and alcohol.
Mm-hmm. You can't just work on that, sir.
Yeah.
You have to, after 2 years.
I know.
Stop.
It does take time, and it's kind of hard. It's
Well,
a difficult thing to do, and with the right people around me and the right kind of stuff in my head and not hanging around the bad crowd, I think I can do it.
did you get your GED?
Yes, I did.
That says that you did here and that you scored rather well.
Yes, I did.
Have you been arrested in the last 2 years?
No.
Since this incident? You seem to say, the
Yes, he
smile
was.
on your face suggests to me that you know he's been arrested
Yes,
since.
he was. The officers actually called me at home.
When?
3 months later, my house was broken into. We assumed it was him, and the police called me to verify that he was arrested 2 days later. And that's when he went to the detention center up at Lookout Mountain.
I never went to Lookout Mountain. I did go to a detention center for a shoplifting charge, Mount View Detention Center.
Let's talk about the last year.
Okay.
Have you been arrested in the last year?
No.
You had to hesitate for a minute.
Well, I wasn't quite sure. I haven't been arrested. I haven't gone to jail or anything, no.
Well, I didn't ask you whether
I
you went
did
to
get a
jail. I asked you
ticket.
whether you were arrested.
I did get a ticket.
What kind of ticket?
Underage drinking.
Ms. Spahn, why is it, first, that that second amount of money, that $900, was not originally reported?
That was up to the sheriff that made the report out, and it explains it all here in this report.
Let me take a look at it.
Showing that the original $900 that was originally stolen was never made it onto this report. And that states it there.
How old are your children?
Almost 7, and the other one is 4.5.
So they were 2 and 5 when he babysat for you?
Actually, yes, around there.
Did he take good care of them?
Do I? Of course.
Did he take good care of
them? No.
But you used him as a babysitter frequently?
4 times.
And you were dissatisfied the first, second, and third time?
The third time.
The
And
third-
that's when we had found out that money started disappearing out of the house. I came home, my son had a bloody nose, he was in bed, he had blood all over his face and everything, and he had just left him. Obviously, he was going through my house at the time, rummaging through everything that I owned.
You want to tell me about taking the money from her house?
Well, I was with my cousin, which was unmentioned to this point so far. He lived in Tennessee at the time, and I actually was not taking part in the theft of the money.
What do you mean you weren't? Listen to me. Mr. Wilson, I want to know, it's very important that when you answer questions that I pose to you, that you tell me the truth.
Right, I understand.
You understand that?
Yes.
I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear nonsense. I don't want to hear that you didn't take part in it. If your cousin was with you and you saw him take the money, and the reason he had access to her house is because you were there, then you're responsible. Do you understand?
Yes.
Is that the kind of excuse you were going to make to me?
No, not exactly.
Well, then I'll hear your excuse.
It's okay. I guess I'll just say I took it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I drive by their
your kids
house.
and your dogs off
I drive
our
by their
yard.
house and their little kids flip me off.
Real people. Judge Judy. Janet Spahn claims her former babysitter, Eric Wilson, stole a large amount of cash from her house and wants him to fess up and pay her back.
Well, I'm being very serious with you. If your cousin was with you from Tennessee, which is what you say here, and that you took the rap for him.
I did.
But your cousin had access to her home through you.
Yes, she agreed. She agreed that my cousin could be with me when we were babysitting. She did agree to it. And when I got back the next day and when I found out the next morning that money was missing, I asked him, and we had gone shopping that night, and he had said he had some money left over. Let's go have a good time, you know. I didn't know it was stolen from her house.
But it had been stolen over a period of several days, not just one day. How many days was your cousin at the house with you?
I believe he did go twice with me.
Mm-hmm. You paid the restitution yourself. Did you ever try to get any money from your cousin?
No.
Why not?
Well, when my grandfather had died, my aunt and uncle, we were out playing basketball and stuff, and my uncle actually kind of assaulted me, so we haven't spoken to them since.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But you asked that your cousin could accompany you in this babysitting job, and she gave permission.
Yes.
So your cousin did have access to her home through you.
Correct.
All right. Now, she says there's an additional $900. Why did you keep so much cash in the house?
We had just sold a 1926 Model T in California here, and we had brought the cash home, and we had not deposited into the bank yet because we were having a carpenter come in to redo our basement. So he wanted to be paid cash, and it had only been 1 week that we had had the cash in the house.
Was the cash kept all in one place?
Yes, it was. It was in a sock rolled up in a locked bedroom behind a bed.
So how come you didn't know at one time how much was missing?
We knew that some money was disappearing. My husband was accusing me, and I didn't know where the money was at the time.
What do you mean, missing from the sock?
Yes, a little bit at a time. And then we put 2 and 2 together, and we had set up some tape in the bedroom door So when the door had been opened and unlocked, that the tape would be stuck at the top of the door, which it was. He had entered the bedroom, and that sock was on the side of the bed with half the cash hanging out. That was the last night. That was when there was $1,100 taken out. That was one day. He took $1,100 out.
How much money in total was in the sock?
$4,000 total.
And how much was
$2,000 ended up missing. $1,100 was retrieved through court and through the money that he had left. He had used credit cards out of my purse and everything else.
Did you do
trying to
that?
No.
Who did?
I have no.
I have a
no
document right here.
recollection of that.
Let me see what you have.
brought up at court.
Yeah.
It was done on the same day that he had stolen the $1,100. It was notarized and said that that somebody had tried to purchase video equipment, which is what he bought with our money when they retrieved it.
Did you find your credit card?
Oh, yes, I did. The credit card had not been activated yet. So that's why they notified us. So all these things happen within like a week.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to tell me why you don't think that you should be responsible for this additional $900, which I believe was missing.
Well, when she did originally say it, it did change. The amount of what was missing changed 3 different times. We told the judge this at the original trial or original hearing. I pled guilty to the charge. I paid my restitution in full. I paid what the judge ordered me to pay. I paid what she asked the judge to pay, the requested amount. I paid the requested amount. I got off of probation. I paid all my restitution. I filled my debt to society. I'm trying to get back on the straight and narrow, working hard.
Mr. Wilson, this report suggests that there was some sort of a snafu in the police paperwork, that the money was reported missing, but somehow missed it when it was ultimately presented to the court. So we're faced with a situation where this lady is going to be out $900, which seems to be unfair. And on the other hand, you seem to suggest that you're trying to get your life back in order. And the fact that you've paid your debt to society, which is what you say, doesn't necessarily mean you've paid your entire debt to this lady, because she's still out an additional $900.
I never saw that $900.
Well, whether you saw it or not, if somebody took the money, it wasn't her 2-year-old, it wasn't her 4-year-old, you were involved with drugs and alcohol at the time. I don't know what your cousin was involved with, drugs and alcohol, or maybe he's just a thief. But either you or he, through you, because that's how he got access to her home,
Correct.
took her property. Somebody has to pay for that.
Correct.
There is something else in this complaint that, however, that bothers me, Ms. Spons.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She threatens to kill us and tells us she will not leave us alone until we move.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Eric Wilson says after he was arrested for stealing from his neighbor, Janet Spahn, he paid the money back to her. Now Eric says Janet won't stop harassing him and his family.
What bothers me is that you folks are neighbors, and there's a suggestion in the answer that there's a lot of hostility that's still going on now from your end. Your husband, you're angry, and you do things to
Certainly.
harass them. You have a boy and a girl?
No, I don't. I have 2 sons.
Miss Spahn, I assume that you let this young man babysit for you because you know his family, you know his mother. Did she always?
No, I did not.
Well,
we had just moved here. We had just moved to Colorado at the time, and I had asked his mother, assuming that she would, think that, if her son had good intentions to watch my children, if he did not, that she would not let him babysit. But she did, and she knew what his intentions were.
Well,
that was fault on my part.
No, I did not.
Miss Spahn, I don't think that this lady knew what her son's intentions were.
I came over to their house and introduced myself, and They never even met my mother before I started babysitting.
Do you have other children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many other children do you have?
I have one daughter.
How old is she?
15.
She okay?
She's great.
She have any trouble with drugs, alcohol, school?
No, I think her brother's been a good example of a bad example, and she's everything against it because of that, whether that's good or bad. But she's very Christian and she's very straight.
Does your husband live in the house with you?
Oh, yes.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I run a bank.
And what about your husband?
He works for the school district.
So, and you have a long work history? You've been
Yes.
working for a long time? How many years the same job?
Well, I got promoted, so I went to a different position, but I've been in banking for 11 years.
And your husband, how long has he been working for the school system?
13. After he got out of college, he went right there, and he's been there for 13 years.
Let me tell you why I'm asking these questions, Ms. Spahn, so you'll understand. I've been around the family courts for a quarter of a century. And what strikes me is sad, has always struck me as being sad. You can expect a child to go off, get involved in drugs, alcohol, criminal activity, if they come from a family that is dysfunctional. But what I've seen more and more of is families that appear to be perfectly functional families have a child that just goes bad. And you hope that that turns around. And you never know when that's going to happen. So what I'm suggesting to you is you have two young boys. As good a parent as you are, as good an example as you set for your children, as law-abiding as you are, work history for over a decade, right out of school, got a job, and working in the same job, that's this lady and her husband. I'm sure they try to set a good example for this young man, and they don't know what happened.
Something went wrong.
It happens.
I know.
You have to feel sorry for that. Because, but for the grace of God, it could be you.
Or my kids.
Or your kids.
That's right.
So while there's no question that I believe that this young man is responsible for paying you, for making you whole, I think it's a tragic mistake for you and your husband to continue what I will refer to as a minor vendetta against the family. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So this is a neighbor. This lady did not hope for the kind of problem that she's having with this boy. And I have a sense from looking at her face that it ain't over yet.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You better straighten yourself out. Kids make mistakes when they're young and they say, well, I have a whole lifetime to correct them. How old are you now, 17?
18.
18.
I just turned 18, and I was going to get my record sealed.
Well, you're not going to get your record sealed, sir, if you just got a ticket for underage drinking. That doesn't suggest to me a year ago or whatever, and Mr. Wilson, listen to me. You just told me 2 minutes ago that you've been clean for about a month. That isn't exactly a lifetime.
Right.
The mistakes you make when you're 15, 16, 17, and 18, sometimes you can't correct them because they create a lifelong habit. So you have choices that you have to make. And if you don't make responsible choices starting right now, sir, at age 18, you're going to suffer your whole life, and your mother's going to suffer her whole life, and your father's going to suffer his whole life. They ever do anything bad to you?
No.
Are they good parents?
Very good.
It's your responsibility now at age 18 to see to it that they have pleasure from you, not grief.
Right.
So you better start trying harder, much harder. All right, judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Here you are, ma'am.
Thank you.
And on the next Judge Judy.
Parties on Cox versus Tagliavore. Step forward, please.
20-year-old Wendy Cox is suing her uncle, 50-year-old Joseph Tagliavore. Wendy says before her grandmother died, she promised Wendy she could have her 1991 Ford Thunderbird. Joseph says the car should be sold and the money divided equally between him and his siblings.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is number 178 on the calendar in the matter of Cox versus Tagliavore. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Cox, this is your uncle.
Yes.
And who are you?
I'm Joe's wife.
Your grandmother, your mother, passed away.
Yes.
According to your complaint, your grandmother, with whom you enjoyed a lovely relationship, promised you
her vehicle, of whichever it may be, when she passed away, which is a '91 Thunderbird.
When did she make this promise to you?
This was, she had an '88 Thunderbird, I think it was '88 or '89, which my other aunt had received, and at the time I just turned 16, and she promised me then the white Thunderbird, which went to my aunt, who also has children and needed a vehicle. So she always promised me that she would leave me her car.
You must have had a hot grandmother. She liked Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
So she passed away recently. According to your complaint, the only signed will makes no mention of that bequest.
No. It was also done in '77.
Could I bring up something, Your Honor?
You, sir, are the executor of the estate.
Yes, according to the signed will, yes.
And is there another will, sir?
Yes. This is a will that we received from a attorney that said that from the discussion I had with my sister, Deborah, which is Wendy's mother, that he had told her that...
Just, you can't tell me all these things. This is all hearsay. You received another will.
Yes.
That is unsigned.
That's the will.
Okay, and this was executed in 1992.
Yes.
All right, let me understand this. We have a 1977 will which makes no mention, that is signed.
Yes.
And makes no mention of this car bequest. Then you have a 1992 will, which according to the plaintiff does discuss the car.
Yes.
Let me just take a look at it. Mr. Tagliavore, were you satisfied that your mother had, in fact, in 1992, had a change of heart, despite the fact that you didn't sign this will?
Yes, I didn't know it. Yes.
Could you sit down, please? Just sit down. The answer is yes. Evidently there was some dispute that your mother had with somebody else, and she, in fact, changed her will.
Yes.
But did not sign it.
As far as I know.
As far as you know, didn't sign it.
Right.
Is there anything that you know about that I haven't said yet?
Yes.
Go ahead.
In the hospital when my grandmother was dying, my husband, my mother, my uncle Bill, and her other son, and my mother, the executor on the second will, she was telling us that her phone book, bank receipts, her will, stuff for her funeral, everything was in her briefcase. We found everything except for her will, which then in her phone book, in 2 different spots, it is noted, Opendahl, the one that drew up the second will, is her attorney has her will. That's how they found him. This is her phone book.
It says in that, attorney has will.
Has will.
Fine.
And I also have a letter from the attorney saying that he was the one that drew it up, and no, she never signed it, that it was her right to be able to take her copy with her, and it was up to her.
Ms. Cox, so then what I'm saying is accurate. Let's put
Yes.
this in order. We have a signed 1977 will, which you acknowledge does not make any bequest of this car to you. Were you born in 1977?
I was born in '76.
Okay, so you were a year old. She wouldn't have left you a car.
No.
Later, you both agree that your mother and your grandmother had the intention of changing her will to leave you the car, but she never fully executed the will, which means she did not have it signed and witnessed. That's according to you, madam, because you just told me that in her papers, in her book, it says attorney has the will. And if this is the will that you got from the attorney, it is unsigned, correct?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So here we have the problem.
This is a copy of the will from 1977.
I'll take a look at it. Mr. Tagliavore,
That's where
listen
I got
to me.
the address.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you were very honest with me a moment ago. I assume that you love your mother and you know in your heart that she may have not been good at executing this 1992 will, but that was her intention, that your niece have this car.
My mother spoke to me in '96 in November.
Who are you?
I'm her daughter also. She called me in Kentucky, was calling me, and I brought up my will. She brought up her will. Nothing was ever mentioned. She said, I have 6 kids. If there should be anything left, we divide it equally. Nothing was ever mentioned once. Wendy didn't know. None of us kids knew that this other will existed. Mom never mentioned to not a one of us.
Fine, but it does exist.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I didn't care if I lost the car or not. It was
Come
a
on,
simple.
Wendy, come
you don't
on.
know. You do not know.
I know.
Joy.
You
no,
put
you
us
do not
through
know.
hell.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wendy Cox says her grandmother promised she could have her Ford Thunderbird after she died. But Wendy's uncle, Joseph Tagliavore, claims his mother's will says all of her possessions are to be divided between him and his siblings.
How much property did your mother leave?
The automobile was it, basically.
If you went to sell, sir, a 1991 Thunderbird, how much do you think you could get for it?
5,000, maybe.
Maybe.
6, maybe. Depending on what kind of shape it was in.
Okay, well, what kind of shape is it in?
It's in very good shape.
Okay,
Low
so let's say,
mileage.
and there are 5 kids?
6.
6 kids. So let's make it easy for this old judge, because I'm not real good in math, as Bird can tell you. So let's say you can sell the car for $6,000. So everybody gets $1,000, right?
Right.
The laws in every jurisdiction require a will to be executed in a certain fashion. So we're talking here about a situation where the law, Ms. Cox, in this and practically every jurisdiction in this country requires that a will and any subsequent change of the will be signed and witnessed. Correct? On the other hand, we're talking about whatever is morally right with regard to this car. I believe that you two people know that it was your mother's intention for her granddaughter to have this car, for whatever reason. I'm sure she has a lot of other grandchildren, but that's what she intended, for this car to go to this grandchild.
Well,
We're not talking about a lot of money here, Mr. Tagliavore. We're talking about at most $6,000 or $1,000 per person who would tend to inherit the money. So maybe we can come up with some way of being fair to your mother's wishes and also being fair to you, consistent with this will, which is unsigned.
Your Honor, I also have a letter from that attorney.
So what? I don't need the attorney. They don't dispute that. Ms. Cox, relax.
Okay, but...
Relax. They don't dispute
No,
that this...
I was just wondering if that would be... I know it's not signed. I'm just wondering if he
No,
can't
I
be a
don't read
witness,
letters
can
from
he?
attorneys. If you want a witness here, you have to have a witness here. What I started to say to you is perhaps we can come up with something that is fair, reasonably fair to each side. Would it be fair for Miss Cox to have use of this car until she decides to sell it, and when she decides to sell it, the proceeds of the sale of that car are distributed among the 6 of you? So that in some way, the last wishes of your mother would be honored. Would that be reasonable?
I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Well, I'm telling you, sir.
You don't understand the whole story, I don't believe.
Well, I'll listen to the whole story.
This started years ago when my mother first told me. She told me, you make sure that you take care of your brother James, which is on that will.
In 1977.
Long before then.
But
if anything happened to her, she said, you make sure that he gets his share of whatever is left because he will not take care of it himself. the money would mean a lot to him. It doesn't mean anything to me. My sister, nobody else in the family, you know, $1,000, like you say, is not much money.
So
When you
what's
come right
James's
down to it.
problem?
He's like one step from homeless, pretty much.
Is there something physically wrong with him, or does he have an alcohol or a drug problem?
No, he's partially disabled. He lives on state aid and stuff like that.
So he has money from Social Security disability.
Right. Which is not much.
I understand that.
$1,000 to him is a lot of money. And this is a promise I made to my mother. And then when this thing all started, as far as I was concerned, I thought my sister was supposed to be executor of this will, and this was all taken care of. She comes after my mother passes away. All the children come to my house. They say, we want you to take care of this. I told Mom in 1995 I wanted to be taken off as executor of the will. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. This was all news to me. So I agreed to do it. Then we started searching and finding stuff. Now this has turned into a total nightmare, and I'm the bad guy when the only thing I say there that is legally binding is that I have to do what the signed will says to do. Now, this is all the argument. This is all the bull that I have got from my family.
Sure, because
for doing what I was told to do by the law and asked to do by my siblings.
Well, you're right, Mr. Taglavor. You, unfortunately, are placed in that responsibility because it's not just you, but you have 5 siblings that you have to deal with,
Right,
too.
and my sister Paula says there's another will that leaves her the car, an orthographic will that she cannot find witnesses to. There's wills floating all over this place, but
Listen,
none of them are signed.
there are a lot
except
of wills,
for
but no
one.
property.
Right.
You know, a lot of wills, but one old
and there's
Thunderbird.
nothing but a car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I did not want
Sure
to sue
you
him.
did, Wendy.
No, I
Yes,
didn't.
you did.
You don't
Yes,
know
you
me,
did.
Joy. You do not know me. This was the man I thought was my grandfather,
I've seen your
okay?
action.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wendy Cox is suing her uncle, Joseph Tagliavore, over her grandmother's will.
So I would assume
So-
that you cannot speak for your whole family.
Oh, no, absolutely
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. What do you want to say?
It's funny that Mother never said anything to anybody, not even to Wendy or Debbie. Nothing was said till after the funeral. I mean, she didn't say anything.
No.
Wendy never said
Just a
anything.
second. Who didn't say anything?
Wendy didn't say nothing. Debbie didn't say nothing. Mom never said nothing.
Listen
that she
to me,
wanted
madam.
Wendy to have the car.
Listen to me, madam.
And I talked to her.
Listen to me.
Okay. I guess it doesn't matter. Whatever you want.
It doesn't. Let me tell you why it doesn't matter.
It upsets me.
Let me tell you why it doesn't matter. Very often when somebody is ill, or even before they're ill, when they are distributing their property by way of a will, and they don't want to create bad feeling while they're alive, they don't want one child to be angry with them or another child or a grandchild to be angry with them, they won't discuss what they're leaving in their will because they figure, when I'm dead, it don't make any difference. So they will not tell their children. Do you have children? Mm-hmm. You have children. Would you have felt badly when you spoke to your mother if your mother said to you, I'm leaving Wendy my only possession, my car? You would have been annoyed with your mother.
I wouldn't.
Sure you would have. And your kids and your children would have been annoyed. Why is Grandma just leaving? Is she the favorite? Why is Grandma just leaving Wendy the car and I don't get anything? Does that sound possible to you?
Well, if it's her, yes, possible. But if it's her wishes, Mom wasn't shy.
You don't. It's not a question of being shy. No. It's a question of not having your kids or your grandchildren annoyed with you while you're here to experience the feeling. Mm-hmm. Once you're gone, you're gone. Miss Cox, you understand you have a problem.
Yeah.
And your problem is that even under the common law, which forms the basis of every law of every jurisdiction, a last will and testament was required to have some sort of a writing, at least signed by the, what we call them, the testator or the testatrix. That means the deceased. The only signed will that exists here that I see is one that was made in 1977. It doesn't make any mention of a car to you. Your uncle is not a bad guy. If he did anything else with this car, but do what it says to do in the original will, which is dispose of all my property equally among my children, he could be sued by the other siblings for a violation of his duties as executor of the will.
Thank you.
Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Well, that's unreasonable. That's unreasonable. I can't permit that to happen. My sense is he would like to do the right thing. But unless all of the siblings together say, you can turn the car over to Wendy because that's what Mom wanted, he can't do that. Do you understand? What I think is too bad is that if all the siblings understand that this was Mom's request, and all we're talking about really is the $1,000 that you were concerned about for James, because that would mean a lot to him, well, maybe Wendy here would say, I'll give James $1,000, give me the car.
My mother, the executor on the second will, which my uncle is not even in.
There's no second will.
No, but
Wendy,
I know. Okay,
there's
I'm
no
just saying.
second will.
All right, but my mom did agree to do that. My mom was willing to give my Uncle James $1,000 to make sure he was taken care of, because she loves her brother. It has nothing to do with the Thunderbird.
This is a very good lesson to
$1,000,
everybody.
This is ridiculous.
It's a very good lesson to everybody. None of us feel that tomorrow is our last day, so we all tend to put off taking care of business, which keeps things orderly and organized in our lives and prevents this kind of thing happening to a family. Usually when these kinds of things happen within a family, when somebody dies, you're talking about a lot of money. It's absolutely outrageous to me that this is doing this to a family when you're talking about a car, which is the only asset that your mother had. So people who don't take care of their business by keeping abreast of what property they have and how they want to dispose of it and making clear dispositions of that property before they die are not doing their families a favor.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Morally, Wendy, I believe that you are correct that your grandmother wanted you to have this car. Legally, you cannot establish that to me. Moreover, I honestly believe, after speaking to your uncle, that if he had his druthers, he would give you this car. If it was a question of, listen, either the car is mine or it's Wendy's, he would say, you can have the car. He is not in that position. He stands in what we call a fiduciary relationship to his other siblings. He represents them. Unless there is a unity of spirit in that, among those 6 siblings, unless all of them say, give Wendy the car, despite the fact that that's not what your signed will says, he can be sued by them, and it ends up costing him $5,000 or $6,000, probably more with attorney's fees, because he'd have to hire an attorney to defend himself, and you would maybe get the car. So don't blame him. It's not his fault. It's really, unfortunately, your grandmother's fault, because she did not take care of business when she could have in 1992 by signing this will and having a fully executed copy. So this lawsuit is dismissed. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Ushbu videoda sizlar hayotda kelib chiqqan har xil muammolarni yechimini topishingiz mumkin. Bu juda manfaatli bo'ladi. Manfaatli degani shuki hayotda kimdir nima ish qilyapti, nima bo'lyapti, hamma narsani shu olib chiqqan bu narsada shuki bir kishining hayoti kim qanday jazolanadi, nimadir qiladi. Shunaqa bo'ladi. Oxirgacha ko'rib ibrat olishinglarni, yaxshi bo'lishinglarni tilakdoshmiz. Ushbu hayotda real bo'ladigan narsalar bular. Shuning uchun bu insonlar har xil bo'ladi, kimdir qayerdir ayb ish qiladi, o'shalarga javob beradi va albatta hayotda o'z o'rnini topadi. Keyinchalik shu narsani qaytarmaslikka harakat qiladi. Sizlar shularni ko'rib yaxshi bo'lishini talabdorimiz. Chunki ular hayotda adashgan bo'ladi. Adashib, yana nima desa bo'ladi? Xato qilgan bo'ladi. Balki bilib qilar, balki bilmay qilar. Shuning uchun albatta hamma o'zini tushunchasi bor, fikri bor, to'g'ri yo'l bor, noto'g'ri yo'l bor. O'shalarni qarab yo'nalishda davom etish kerak. Xato qilgan bo'lsa, xatolarni to'g'rilab va o'shalardan xatolardan bir nima desa bo'ladi? U xato qilganini tan olib, o'shalarning to'g'risida harakat qilish kerak bo'ladi. Chunki bular aksariyati bilmay qilgan bo'ladi bular. Endi nima desa bo'ladi? Bilmay qilgandan keyin o'sha odamlar shunday harakat qilib to'g'rilashga bel bog'laydi. Albatta bular yaxshi bo'lishi mumkin. Endi hamma narsa inson qo'lida bo'ladi. Albatta bu o'zingizni qo'lingizda. Yaxshi harakat qiling. Hayotda sabr qilish kerak, harakat qilish kerak. Shu Allohdan so'rash kerak. Albatta layklarni bosib qo'llab-quvvatlaysizlar, oxirigacha ko'rasizlar va to'g'ri fikr olasizlar degan umiddamiz. Xayr.